Throughout history, humans have mostly resolved conflicts through violence. Wars have been fought over economic, political, religious, racial, and many other reasons. Many scholars believe that the encounter between our distant ancestors and the Neanderthals could have ended in nothing less than all-out war. Today, we'll explore the causes and consequences of this first global conflict in our planet's history. Humans have always found reasons to eliminate those who were different. Even in primitive tribal societies, any outsider who differed from the locals in some way was seen as a threat. The simplest and safest solution for the clan or tribe was to kill them. And if that outsider looked very different, almost like a different species, the encounter was usually brief and deadly. So, it's unlikely that Cro-Magnons and Neanderthals had much chance of peacefully resolving their territorial disputes. Despite their near-complete genetic similarity, Cro-Magnons and Neanderthals looked very different. Our ancestors arrived in Europe and the Near East nearly 70,000 years later, meeting Neanderthals who had long inhabited these lands. The locals were shorter, stockier, and broader-shouldered, with sloping chins, wide noses, and prominent brow ridges. Their maximum height rarely exceeded 5 feet 5 inches. Cro-Magnons had body structures closer to modern humans living in tropical regions. They often stood over 6 feet tall, had long legs, and faces resembling people today. Interestingly, the brains of infants from both groups were virtually identical at birth. But as they grew, differences became more pronounced, even though adult brain volumes were similar. It's thought that Neanderthals' main disadvantage was a less developed cerebellum, the part of the brain responsible for movement coordination, memory, imagination, and crucially, speech and social skills. A key survival advantage for Cro-Magnons was their ability to form relatively large groups to tackle common challenges. Neanderthals, by contrast, lived in small, likely family-based groups. Though they showed early signs of primitive society, their more social rivals outpaced them in this crucial area. Archaeological evidence also suggests Neanderthals had concepts of medicine. They cared for the elderly and their peers. This complex interplay of biology, behavior, and environment shaped the fate of these two human branches in their struggle for survival. There is a hypothesis that the beginnings of religious and artistic awareness were already emerging in their minds. The simplest explanation for the disappearance of the Neanderthals is their extinction at the hands of Homo sapiens. It's quite possible that there was no single, large-scale armed conflict between the two species. Rather, the more numerous and better organized Cro-Magnons gradually pushed the native inhabitants of Europe into less hospitable regions. The process of Neanderthal extinction took roughly 30,000 years. As the new masters of the continent migrated from Africa, they quickly adapted to colder climates and developed more advanced tools and weapons. Neanderthals relied on primitive spears and clubs for hunting and warfare, while by the end of their struggle, Cro-Magnons were successfully using spear throwers. This device allowed them to hurl spears much farther, making Cro-Magnon hunters more efficient in securing food. Both species employed drive hunting techniques, but the Cro-Magnon's superior ability to organize likely enabled them to form larger hunting parties. A crucial difference that may have contributed to the Neanderthals' disappearance was the diet of these ancient humans. Analysis of Neanderthal remains from various groups shows that each had a specific diet. Some ate only the meat of local hoofed animals, others gathered certain plants, and some relied on fish or seafood. When their usual food sources disappeared, whether due to depletion or forced relocation, serious problems arose, especially in harsher environments where children were most vulnerable. Reduced birth rates combined with higher mortality naturally led to the species' extinction. Cro-Magnons, on the other hand, had a fairly uniform diet regardless of their location, primarily plant-based. The animal portion of their diet varied by region and time period. Early and late in their presence across Europe and Asia, our ancestors used different methods of cooking meat. The closer to modern times, the more sophisticated their cooking techniques became, and their diets grew increasingly diverse. It's long been known that the genetic closeness of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons allowed them to interbreed. They shared a common ancestor, from whom both species diverged sometime between 200,000 and 1 million years ago, according to various estimates. Up to 4% of modern human DNA comes from Neanderthals, which suggests that not all of them were wiped out by violence. Some were likely assimilated into the more advanced species. However, conflicts of interest often ended tragically for one side. It's important not to imagine that the Cro-Magnons who migrated from Africa simply erased their closest relatives from the face of the earth. Excavations at sites used by both groups show that Neanderthals were no easy prey. Scientists regularly find burials bearing signs of violent death inflicted by characteristic weapons, and bones with tooth marks are also common. This indicates that both our ancestors and their rivals often consumed the bodies of their fallen enemies. Beyond these findings, some researchers propose additional theories. For example, one popular idea is that an important advantage for Cro-Magnons in the struggle for survival was the domestication of dogs. This symbiotic relationship allowed humans to hunt more effectively and defend themselves against threats. While Neanderthals struggled to secure enough food to survive, Cro-Magnons thrived. This theory's founder, American scientist Pat Shipman, also argues that Cro-Magnons developed another crucial trait around this time, a distinctive mutation that gave their eye sclera a white color. This made it easier to see where someone was looking. Improved communication among people led to greater socialization and organization. Some scholars suggest that Neanderthals may have fallen victim to a global epidemic. They left Africa about 150,000 years before Cro-Magnons. During that time, microorganisms to which Neanderthals had no immunity spread along the migration routes carried by our ancestors. These microbes, harmless to Cro-Magnons, could have caused the Neanderthals' extinction. Another group of scientists argues that Cro-Magnons played no direct role in eliminating their main competitor, instead, nature did. Evidence shows that several major volcanic eruptions occurred in regions with the highest Neanderthal populations during that period. These events led to temperature drops and changes in water and atmospheric composition. Many animal species that Neanderthals relied on for food went extinct, followed by starvation among the people themselves. Whatever the primary cause of Neanderthal extinction, competition between species sharing the same ecological niche is inevitable in nature. Under different circumstances, Neanderthals might have had a chance to survive, and human society today could be governed by entirely different rules. But we will never know whether the Neanderthal world would have been better or worse than the one we live in now. We sincerely thank all viewers who watch our videos to the very end. If you found this topic interesting, we recommend checking out our previous content on the channel. There, you'll discover many new and fascinating insights into the history of life's development on our planet.